Hi Aquarius, it's Jenny here, and we're getting ready with your January Tarot Horoscope. Brand new year, and some of you have a birthday at the end of the month. That'll be exciting. Happy early birthday to some of you. We're just going to be pulling a single card from my Salvador Dali Tarot deck for the month of January. So the first 2/3 of January is going to be Capricorn season, and then right at the end, we're going to be moving into Aquarius season. So let's see what's coming up. Whoops. Sure. Well, that was 2 of them. Let's go with the top one. Okay. We've got the 3 of Swords right way up. Okay, so here's the 3 of Swords that came out. So we see here there's kind of a bit of an aggressive scene. There looks like a damsel kind of tied up there, and this big warrior slaying a dragon there with a spear, all in this big heart with this red exterior there, and all of these swords around. So, 3 of Swords. Let's see what we've got from that. Okay. 3 of Swords. Conscious love. This is a very powerful card, an homage to love and to the liberating power of the mind. The card depicts a scene from the painting. Oh, I just had a little bit of a power out situation here. Hold on a second. Probably blew the breaker. Let somebody else fix that. Okay, I'm just going to keep going though. Okay, the card depicts a scene from the painting Roger Rescuing Angelica by Jean-Auguste Dominique Ingres, framed by a big red heart. As ever, the message is ambiguous. Perhaps a great abyss is opening up at the center of your heart, or maybe swords are about to free you from affliction and distress. The picture is based on the classical motif of a battle with a dragon, a black serpent-like monster visible at the bottom of the big heart. The image warns against hurt feelings, old wounds reopened by the sword. The positive message is that whatever problems we may encounter, the weapons of the mind and the eyes of love will enable us to find a solution in a happy alliance of heart and sword. Most problems arise out of a separation of abstract thoughts and your real feelings. Obsessive views and rigid ideas refuse to be checked against actual experience, paralyzing your mental and emotional faculties. Like a thorn in the side, they are a source of constant pain and irritation. Give love a chance, including a love of truth and honesty. Shed light on your memories and expectations. Do not be afraid of painful truths. All wounds will heal if you tend to them. Practical advice: do not give up. Risk being more honest and authentic. Let go of your prejudice, pretense, and reserve. Feel the great relief that will be yours when your heart is set free again. Okay, this one seems like a really interesting one for you, Aquarius, in particular because it's the phrase, the liberating power of the mind. And that sounds about as Aquarian as it gets. So the Aquarius is an air sign, which is all about mental capacity and thoughts and beliefs in the mind. And a major theme of Aquarius is the theme of liberation. Liberating yourself, liberating others, liberating all of humankind. Specifically using the powers of the mind as that being one of your great strengths. So this card, it's but there's kind of some like seeing how probably your greatest strength is also one of your greatest weaknesses, and you get to use your greatest strength to liberate yourself from your weakness in this case. But you need to add in a little bit of a something. So liberating power of the mind. We talk a little bit here about there's a possibility to have obsessive views and rigid ideas, and you might find that you have a tendency to really hold on to your ideas quite strongly. Aquarius is a fixed air sign, and fixed signs are usually like pretty solid, hold your ground, which can be really, really excellent if you're being really challenged and able to like really hold fast in your thoughts and your beliefs. But if you aren't doing the work yourself to challenge yourself and make sure that you're balancing the strength of your conviction with the humanity of your heart, or with the possibility of knowing that you might be wrong sometimes and needing to check again to realize that, okay, like things do change. Not every fact stays the way it is all the time. And so even though it may have been good to believe and think something for a while, sometimes new things come to light. And so it is good to always both be fact checking in the mental realm of is what I believe still supported by the facts as I know them, and also the emotional and the human heart of, are these still my values? Is it good to hold this thought? Is it hurtful to be being so rigid and steadfast on this? Am I causing harm to myself or to other people? It doesn't mean that you have to give up your thoughts or your beliefs, but you can temper the sharpness of the sword of the mind with love and with the heart, instead of wielding those swords of the mind to no end all the time, in the name of that liberation, or even just being stubborn with your beliefs. If things are disconnected from the heart and disconnected from love, then it becomes a matter of essentially you're stabbing yourself in the heart on this one. So this is, there's not small stuff coming up. This is old wounds, quite potentially yours, quite potentially somebody else's. This big, the heart is the center of the thing, and there's some battles in there. There's some wounds, whether those battles are old wounds and it's become calcified and traumatic in the heart, or whether these are current things that are coming up, or a mix of both. These things are near and dear, and so there can be a tendency when feeling hurt and feeling those emotions, whether they're new from a current event or it's that traumatic flashback, you may have a tendency to run to the fortress of your mind and to really try to work things out in the head, try to rationalize things, try to gain control of the emotional experience by having a rigid mental experience. And what we're trying to do is marry the heart and the mind, and marry the emotional to the mental in this case, so we don't have one dominating the other, and so that there might just be this initial desire to really run to that mental safety, and that rigidity, and we want to temper that. We want to take that strength of the mind, and instead of having it just be used as another cage, another way to imprison you in your fortress of safety, so nobody can get in and hurt you, but you can't get out either. So when we talk about liberation and the liberating power of the mind, that liberation might be all about freeing you from the fortress of protection that you may have needed to tuck yourself in to keep yourself safe from all of these friggin' swords stabbing at your heart. So the freedom might be the freedom to, getting out of that fortress, but removing yourself from a fortress makes you vulnerable again. And there's no way around that. The fortress is there for a reason. It's safe, but it's stagnant. There's no evolution from there. You're going to that's just where you are, safe and trapped. So bringing this into the astrology of January. So we're starting with Capricorn time. So as we've kind of built up this story in the last few months, where in Scorpio season, we were kind of brought face to face with our fears and our desires to deal with them kind of out of the repressed depths. Sagittarius time was kind of helping us shine a light of truth on the things that came up, to say, what do you really believe? What really are your dreams and desires? And then we just started Capricorn season in the end of December, which was like, okay, you figured out your dreams and your desires, and what are you going to do to create them? What is the steps, the tangible steps that you're going to start in order to try to achieve what it is that you want? So we're still in that for a good amount of January, is that steps, that manifestation, that goal, that has a little bit of a kind of more of a rigid component to it, in terms of needing to stay the path. Like a lot of people do New Year's resolutions kind of for this energetic reason of, what do we want and how are we going to get there, and let's do it. So a good chunk of this month, hopefully you're still able to ground into the last couple months of what you learned about what your dreams and your desires are. And they might be very much tied to this old wound. Like if this kind of battle scene that's coming up, this may have been the thing that came up in Scorpio season a few months ago, where just like, ooh, these are some old yucky wounds, and what have you learned about them? What do you want about them? Do you want to, are you wanting to go back and reconcile and bring in some heart experience to that time and try to reconcile with the bad of what happened? Are you just wanting to just trust that now you've grown and you have a greater strength and capacity, and so you can just deal with the traumas that came up? Are you wanting to just say, no, we're cutting free from that whole thing. I no longer want to be a part of that world or a part of that hurt, and I'm going to go off and do something else. I'm going to go somewhere else, travel, move, have a different friend group, whatever those kinds of things. It might be stay and heal. It might be leave and start anew. It could be all these kinds of things, but you want to make sure that that action is that was tied to that Sagittarius truth of what do you really want? What is the dream that you want to create, instead of the what is the panic response that's telling you to do something out of a triggered kind of fear. So if we can ground into what was the vision of truth about these fears and desires that we had, and now it's the what do we do about it stage. And the suggestion from this card is marry the heart and the mind, and don't try to just take one. Probably you usually take the mind. Don't just try to reason your way out of it. You also can't just think of the plan, build a perfect plan in your head, and then not do it. This Capricorn season is an earth sign, so that's very practical, very grounded in reality and manifestation and creating things. And so it gets you out of the head, into the ground, into the body, into the doing. And so this is a really strong encouragement of what are the doings? Is your goal right now to create safety in your body and really work at self-care or like mental, emotional, spiritual health, so that you feel supported when you kind of let these dragons out and deal with them? Is this about making serious conversations and setting dates to talk to people by? Maybe having accountability friends that you can talk to as you move forward with difficult social interactions with people? Is this about work or school, where you're like, I know what my vision is, and am I currently in the steps to do that? Am I in an education program I don't need to be in to get where I want to go, or do I need to be in one? What's my job situation like? It's basically, are my steps lining up to the vision? And then do that. If they aren't, change the steps. If they are, go to the next step. That is this first kind of 2/3 of January. And then we roll over into Capricorn season. Some of you get a birthday coming up on that. And this is now where we really think about this. This is like a moment of freedom, or at least the breaking of one of these links, whether this means you're in total freedom now or it's just the start. It doesn't really matter, because some of these wounds might be pretty deep. So breaking one link of a chain that's holding you back is a pretty big victory. So this is not just, this is tying that whole, we were looking at the vision we've learned in Sagittarius season and the Capricorn goal steps to get to the vision. As we think about liberation, this is also thinking about where we came from. So this is, what are we leaving behind in order to go towards the vision? We need both. We need to know the history, and we need to know what we are leaving, and we need to make sure that we are leaving it in a liberating way and not in a still traumatized, triggered way. And then once you're out, though, where are you going? And we need this whole line to be connected. Otherwise, why did you leave? Where are you going? So these are going to be kind of some of the themes towards the end of the month. And there's probably going to feel like that greatest tension at the moment before freedom. So if, like, say you're thinking, I know I've used chain metaphors, now I'm using elastic bands, but if you're caught in this elasticity and you're trying to pull free to snap it, the tension gets greater the further away you are from where you started. And so the resistance is getting more and more, and the resistance is absolutely greatest right before the band snaps. So you really need to be fixed on that vision, because the tension's going to get worse before the breakthrough. So towards the end of this month, it might feel really worse for you, and then you can get that breakthrough. And Aquarius is the sign of like big leaps forward, big changes, not just little steps. So this kind of month feels like little steps of working towards the goal in the Capricorn way of like, let's do the goal, let's get to the top. And then when you get that tension, all those steps might be feeling harder and harder and harder. And then you suddenly leap your way to the top in that big Aquarian jump. So that's sort of what I'm feeling at the kind of energy expenditure required for this month. And this reminder is, these swords look scary, this trauma looks uncomfortable, But the thing that is going to help you not stay trapped in the mind and trapped in those rigid patterns is that heart energy, is the emotional and the love capacity. Whatever it is that you love, whether it is the love for the family, for your community, love for your own story, love for your past self and the compassion for what you went through back there, love for, you know, the future you that you might feel stronger for. If you don't feel very connected emotionally to your own kind of worth at the moment, you can, you know, imagining that future goal, and that's what's pulling you forward. It all needs to be rooted in the human heart. Or it is just, it's still that mind fortress, and it'd be hard to get out of that. So let's see, anything else I wanted to say on this? Yeah, I mean, just that last line was really good. Give love a chance, including a love of truth and honesty. Shed light on your memories and expectations. So memories is like that kind of past trauma. Expectations is like, what are those hopes and goals? Do not be afraid of painful truths. All wounds will heal if you tend to them. So some uncomfortable stuff coming up. But do not give up. Risk being more honest and authentic. Let go of your prejudice, pretense, and reserve. And then feel great relief. The end feeling of this after working hard, tension, triggering is relief when your heart is set free. So I've got some high hopes for you, Aquarius, but it might feel like a pretty rough month still. And if you're in the Northern Hemisphere with me, it's going to be quite dark. My power literally just went out. So it's going to feel a lot of that heaviness. But there will be relief at the end. And even if that relief is just your birthday, I've got my heart and hopes on you, Aquarius. Best of luck this January.